Hey everyone, it's Alex, and you're listening to the Everyday Stories podcast, a podcast about the everyday stories from the people you know and the people you don't know, here to help you learn a thing or two about life and the stories that define us. Today we're talking to Anayasha Dalia, who moved to Toronto a year ago and has carved her own path, creating 2 marketing agencies when she was struggling to find a job in her industry in Canada. Her family and friends, even herself, didn't think she would make the move from India, but her gut told her to just jump, and now here she is. So Anayasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, so would love to chat about your move from India to Toronto. What was the catalyst for you that made you realize, okay, like I'm going to move like halfway across the world and end up in a place where I don't really know anybody, but here we go.
I think I realized there was a moment in my career, life, everything where I wanted to do more. And I could have done that in India. It would have not been an issue. But I wanted to study more actually back then. And I applied to like a bunch of MBA schools. I got into a few and I was like, okay, this looks good. And then I realized I should look at something more permanent. And back then I was applying to I also looked at other countries and I realized I had enough points for a Canadian PR. So I decided if I come to Canada, I can just get my PR first and then maybe go to school here somewhere. So it was actually a little bit strategic in that sense, the move. But it was very difficult to make that move for me.
Mm. And I know that you mentioned when you had reached out to me was that you were almost making the move in ways to find yourself, and would love to hear your understanding of what did finding yourself mean to you before the move and what does it mean to you now?
I think before the move, and it's not a bad thing, I was blessed that I was constantly surrounded by like family and friends, and I almost did not have any alone time. And when you're surrounded by so many people, you pick up bits and pieces of them in your life. And then I became an amalgamation of everyone I knew. And while that's beautiful, I also realized that I was losing parts of me. And that's what I meant when I said I want to find myself and go to a country where I would probably not know anyone. And then find out something as basic as, oh, what's my favorite toothbrush or what's my favorite toothpaste? Like I didn't have a favorite toothpaste till I came here because I used to use whatever kept in the bathroom at home.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it was almost like a way of making decisions for yourself.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, it really was. And after moving, I realized that alone, finding myself comes at a price of being lonely. But I think I overall learned how to manage that as well. But yeah, I think it was very much a decision to have my own decision, to be able to make my own decisions. Yeah.
You just said now about you tied finding yourself to loneliness. I would love to understand like what you meant by that.
When I moved, I just knew like 2 faraway uncles in Toronto and no other friends, nobody. So it was a very lonely move in that sense and I didn't come here for school, I didn't come here for work, so I couldn't build a community in like school or at like workplace. None of that for me. I came on my PR directly without knowing anyone. This was the first time I actually traveled to Canada in general.
Wait. Sorry. For PR, you're talking about public relations.
No, I meant like my permanent residency.
Oh, permanent residency. Okay. So for those who don't know about permanent residency, basically like can allow you to move to, if you have permanent residency in Canada, you can move to Canada, have any sort of job. The permanent residency is not tied to a job, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So sorry, keep going.
Sorry. So it's tied to like a category of job. So I still have to find job in the category, but like it's not tied to like a job. It's not like a work visa or like a student visa.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When you moved and you got your permanent residency, you mentioned that you only knew like 2 far away uncles, but that's about it. And so what usually when people decide to move to a place where they don't know anyone, it's a particular kind of person that will do that. Because I think too, there are friends that I have that would never move to a place where they don't know anyone because they like the comfortability of knowing people in the places that they're in. And the idea of moving somewhere else where they don't know anyone is really scary for people. So I'm wondering, in your case, what is the thing that motivated you? And maybe it's your mindset as well of, I'm going to move and I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to build my own community. I'm going to start from scratch, but heck with it. Let me just jump and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it was very much that. I was like, I woke up one day and I said, I'm going to move. It's going to be hard. I'm going to lose a bunch of friends. I'm going to not be able to talk to like my extended family every week, but it's my decision and I've made it. And that was
Yeah.
probably the beginning of like the decisions that you were talking about earlier. But that started it on, and I started making my own decisions on the go after that.
Do you feel like you have lost friendships through your move in terms of, oh, I'm not as close to them anymore because I'm halfway across the world? Or was it you just like cutting off friendships in order to move? I'm wondering, because sometimes like you can maintain friendships. Obviously, it's not going to be the same extent as like if they're your next door neighbor. But I'm interested to hear when you said that you lost your friendships for the move. What does that mean?
I think some friendships in general, you just know they're not gonna like be there. They just come for like a part in your life, and then that's that. Um, but I think I have a lot of friends in general. I like to like really believe that, and I think the move sometimes with a lot of friends, it's like a mixed batch. And as you, of course, they're also growing, and then they sometimes move towards, they go to a path where you don't want to join them. So those are the kind of friendships I lost and I was okay losing. So I didn't make an effort after the move to sort of go for them. Um, a lot of friendships I lost because of the move in the sense that they're more physical people. They like to like meet, they like to hang out. They're not texters, they won't get on the call. And I knew that was happening. I know my friends. I knew that about them. And then there are some who I wanted to carry with me. So it's been tough with them as well. It's not easy maintaining friendships on like a time difference and everything. I think I was pretty strategic about that as well. Like, okay, these are the friends I probably will never see again. I'm okay. I'll probably never see again, but I'm upset about that, but I cannot help it. And then these I want to see again, and I will put in an effort day in and day out to make that happen.
Yeah. And what was your biggest fear when you were packing up everything and moving to Toronto?
I think I go back to loneliness because I was constantly surrounded by like family or extended family, close to my cousins, my friends, um, and not knowing anyone and not knowing what would become of me when I become that lonely. And I'm left alone, without therapies.
Did you find when you first moved to Toronto, like first couple of weeks, did you find that you did really struggle with building community, like trying to find like a daily lifestyle for yourself? Or was it a very easy transition for you?
It was a tough transition for me mentally, actually, because there are a lot of, like, I didn't know how to use a washer dryer, for example. So, it was like basic stuff like that, which I had to learn. But it was also the community bit where it was tough to find friends. And not just the first few weeks, Alex, it was also like a couple of months where you take whatever people come your way. Like you don't pick and choose your friends, because you cannot pick and choose your friends initially, right? Like, you just have to work with what you get. I know I'm now in a position where I can pick and choose my friends, and I'm very fortunate for that. But the initial months were tough, because then you don't know who comes with nice intentions and who doesn't.
Mm. Is that when you were first meeting people in Toronto, did you find it difficult trying to figure out like who are the people that can like be my true friends, and who are the ones that are kind of just here, but I don't know if I can necessarily have this like really deep friendship with them?
Yeah, I think that I really struggled with that. And I really struggled with also trusting people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Why?
I think I had some instances in the first couple of months of moving where um it was a thing with the rent with someone, where they try to like take more money, like get more money out of me in rent and stuff like that. And this was supposed to be like a friend's friend. So like stuff like that.
Mm.
Again, because I don't know these guys, and it's, you go with good intentions. You're like, oh, that person's not gonna be bad. Um, but I found that out the hard way, that okay, not everyone, even if you know them through like a friend, they're not gonna come with good intentions.
Yeah,
That
that's
was tough.
true. That's true. I feel like I was just having a conversation with someone a few hours ago that it will be a person that's on the podcast. Maybe the episode will come out before yours or after yours, unsure. We spent the whole episode talking about friendships and like what does it mean to have like a genuine friendship, and if people evolve in different ways, sometimes it's okay for the friendship to end. But oftentimes we don't think of it like that. We think, oh, our friends are going to be here for forever. But
Right.
if it's not serving both parties, then it can, there is also like a freedom in ending that friendship in order to better the lives of both people. But I also wanted to ask you as well, in terms of the idea of home, how did your perception of home change throughout your experience moving?
So I think before I had, and this reminds me of this piece I wrote like years ago. And I'll come back to it. So before moving, home for me was like a physical home. Like, I could actually go home. It's with my parents. It's my sibling is in the room next to mine. Like, it's a physical place. It's an apartment. Um, Over time, because even in Toronto, I did move. Like, this is my second house in Toronto, like second apartment that I rented. And over time, I'm realizing that home is where I am, and then what I make of it. And that's exactly what I wrote like a bunch of years back, which is like, I am home. Like, this
Mm,
is my home. Um, and then, yeah, like you said, like the friendships that you build, the community that you build, they will unfortunately come and go. But I'm going to be the permanent home for myself.
oh, I love that. Because I always thought about home not so much a place as well,
Mm-hmm.
but home is the people that you surround yourself with, the ones who are able to ground you. And I have like a similar, not necessarily similar experience, but I have also moved to a place where I didn't really know anyone. Funny enough, I moved from Toronto to New York, more specifically in Brooklyn. But I remember when I first moved, I knew like one or two people that were living in the city at the time as well. And I didn't know anyone else. I was very grateful that the people that I was able to meet immediately was like, they're all have been amazing friends to me to this day. But I know it's not like that for everyone. Like there's a lot of people that struggle with like really big moves. And um, I oftentimes like talking to those people, it's very much like literally my gut is telling me like to just jump and make this move and I'll figure it out afterwards. And I think that it is so powerful. And also the beauty of life is for us to just consistently take the leaps of faith, whether it's like a small little jump or something that is like insurmountable that can change the rest of our life. Well, one could even argue that every decision that we make can change our life. to some extent. But the only way that we're going to challenge ourselves and learn and grow is if we take those jumps. Or else if we're just living life, just being comfortable, then I think just like my own opinion to that is we won't see the same level of growth as we would by really like pushing ourselves and doing things that are outside of our comfort zone. So I will say, like, I love that you moved to Toronto, are there now, and made that jump, because oftentimes people are really scared about doing that. And some people spend their lives like, and that would never move, who would never make the jump, and who would say, you know what, I'm just gonna stay in India. That's what works for me, and that can be fine to some extent. But I always think, just get out there. I'm so big on traveling and getting out there in the world, so I'm glad that you are taking those jumps.
I also just want to add to what you said, like, how you mentioned growth about moving to a new place. There's also a version of that where people, like you just said, travel a lot. So like you would grow and see the world through travel. But I feel like when you actually up and pack your bags and actually move to a place, that's a whole like another level of growth, which is much different from when you go to a country for like 10 days and come back. Like, now that I have moved, I used to consider, okay, I'll travel the world now, that'll be my growth. But now that I've actually moved to like a separate country, like moved, packed my bags and moves, I'm realizing this is so much more, it's so much more stronger in that sense. Like it's really helped my growth a lot.
My question for you too is, if you spend enough years living in Toronto where it truly becomes like this really comfortable place for you to live, would you make the jump to move somewhere else?
I have not thought about that yet, because for me, I'm right now looking at just settling, I guess.
Yeah.
Still in Toronto, and figuring out my space in Canada. So maybe not yet, maybe not anytime in the foreseeable future, but honestly, I didn't think I'd move to Toronto at all. So
yeah. Would you ever move back to India?
Not right now, no. I think the people I miss the most are my parents. And I'd probably just, if I can, get them here or something. I know they keep visiting every year, so I'm okay.
So you're okay. You're in Toronto for the long haul for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah. And if you could go back to right before your move and give yourself one piece of advice as you are coming to a new place, what would that piece of advice be?
I think to believe in myself a little more. Like I was scared, but I was I had courage about the move. I knew I was gonna move, but a part of me didn't believe in myself to move to be able to do all of this that I've done the last year. And I realized just how capable I actually am, which is great. I love myself, sort of a thing,
Yeah.
Yes, I think it'd be to believe in myself a little more, to believe in my, like you said, the gut feeling. Sometimes people are just not your people, and that's okay. You'd rather be lonely than surround yourself with people who are not your people.
Mm-hmm. I think it always comes back to, you got to love yourself first before you can love anyone else.
Yeah. It's tough, and it was tough for me to even realize that, because, like I said, I was constantly surrounded by so many people. So everyone else loves you, and without realizing that becomes your validation.
Yeah.
So to then sit in a space alone and be like, okay, I gotta love myself now. It was interesting.
I think a lot of people, at least in my scenario, I mean, I more so moved as an escape. It's not to say that I didn't love where I come from, because I do. I think I have loving, like, family, friends, support system back in Canada. But for me, I just like wanted to get out there. So I find it really interesting on your end, where you also had the same thought of like wanting to make that move. But for you, you had that like constant support. Like, again, I also had a constant support system. Mm-hmm. But for me, I viewed the move as like, oh, I'm escaping. Like I'm getting out. I'm getting out of this small town in Canada, and I'm moving to the big city and living my big city girl dreams. But I really like hearing your perspective about making the move to Toronto. And for anyone else that is maybe listening to this episode, whether they're thinking about moving, they're in the process of moving, or they're already just starting in a new place where they don't know anyone. Do you have any advice for them?
It'd be the same advice I'd give myself if I went back. Believe in yourself. I think you are more capable. You're capable of much bigger things than you think you are. And just like go with that. And don't be scared. I mean, we all get scared. I get that. But try not to.
It makes me think about, who was it? Okay, there was a Will Smith. He did this thing with YouTubers where he went skydiving with them randomly. And it was at some point in the video, it was either Will Smith or one of the YouTubers were talking about how the scariest part of the whole skydiving experience isn't the actual jump, but it's all of the thinking, the overthinking, the prep work that it leads up to it. But once you finally jump, it's freedom, it's bliss. Like, it is the most amazing feeling in the whole world. But we get so scared that we almost scare ourselves out of doing it. And I think that's oftentimes not even just moving to a new country or a new place, but in a lot of decisions that we make, we're scared to jump. Whether it's, I don't know, I see someone cute at the bar and I want to ask them out, or I'm thinking of doing an entire career switch. Sometimes we tend to overthink and not actually make that move because the other side is so unknown. But once we get to that tipping point where, okay, we're literally about to do this right now. Once we get over that other side, it's like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's like going to be okay. And it goes back to like your idea of like just believe in yourself, like be strong in who you are, because when you make that jump, either way, you're going to figure it out no matter what.
I think it's also nice to go in a little, and I do not take this with a grain of salt, okay, everyone, but it's also nice to go in a little blind sometimes, because the plans you make will change. And you have to have that room and open mind to then change with them. But yeah, I love the story that you just put. It was so.
I also too, I want to get into your Substack a little bit, because that is how we met. Was I sent out a little Substack note, which is basically like a tweet for those who don't know what a Substack note is, and asked if anyone was interested in recording for a podcast. Handful of people reached out, including you, and I wanted to talk to you about the writing that you're doing on Substack. So how long have you been writing on Substack? What is your Substack, and why did you decide to write it?
I have actually been on Substack for like 3 weeks, I think. So I'm very, very new to Substack. I think I have always loved writing in general since my teen years now. But I never had the courage to actually do it actively or to post my work out there. I'm the kid from like the Wattpad days. Like, I wish I had put my stories back on Wattpad. You know, I used to read everyone else writing it, and I'm sad that I didn't. And now I know, like I said, now I believe in myself better. So when Substack came around, I figured I want to now write. I don't want that fear to hold me back anymore. So my Substack, I want to keep it very open, very emotional. I'm also a very sensitive person, actually. So I want to keep it more real about what I'm feeling, what other people are doing around me is affecting me, and then how I'm learning and growing from that.
And what are you actually writing in your Substack? Like, what are some of the pieces that you've wrote?
Actually, I've just written one till now, and I have another one coming in this weekend. The one I've written about is exactly this, where till now I've always been leaving places, but reaching Substack feels like now I've reached a place where I'm supposed to be. Because when I opened the app and when I saw these like Substack tweets on my feed, and I saw the community that's out there, I felt so much like I belonged there. So that's been my one piece right now.
Do you have a vision for the future of your Substack?
I do actually. I think it's gonna be, as much as I want to talk about my feelings, I want other people to be safe enough to be able to talk about their feelings to me. And have those open conversations, open, emotional, real talks, none of the small talks. And that's tough because, you need to get someone to trust you for that. I don't expect that to happen on like day one, not even day 100, actually. It takes time. But I want to be vulnerable enough for someone else to know that it's okay for them to be vulnerable enough as well.
I will say, out of the hundreds of Substacks that I've read online, people are raw. People are vulnerable. It is so fascinating to me to see people, even with like literally 1 or 2 subscribers, nobody cares. They're going to tell you their whole life story in this piece and put it out there to the world, to a bunch of strangers. And I think that's why the Substack community feels so welcoming and such a safe space, is because everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone is telling these like deep life stories about themselves and are getting really vulnerable. So I think to your point, you may be able to get just like very vulnerable and get trust from a lot of people right from the get-go. I think obviously with other social media platforms, that trust may need to be built, but it's something that is so ingrained within Substack, is everyone is sharing such deep pieces of themselves that it's such a loving community where no matter what you put out is going to come with a lot of support from everyone else. Yeah. And to that, is there any Substack that you've been reading that's like your favorite Substack?
Yet, not a lot of them. Actually, I haven't had the time to sit down with Substack, honestly. Not so much. But I want to. I actually put some time aside tomorrow. Like, I literally have it on my calendar saying, okay, 2 to 5 p.m., we're going to read Substack.
You have it in your calendar. You're like, okay, I need to block off time.
I do. I literally, I set my calendar for the whole week, and Sunday is 2 to 5 Substack hours.
Oh, I love that. So tomorrow, since today we're recording on Saturday, tomorrow you're going to be reading Substacks for 3 hours.
Yes.
Nice.
It's in my calendar. It's got to be done.
I love that. And what is the last question that I've been asking more people? I'm trying to make this like my last question that I end the episodes on, is what is something that you've learned in the past year that you're going to take into your next year of life?
I think I want to go back to a lot of things that we said about believing in myself and just continuing to continue to take these risks that I know I've taken this year. If I can do this, I can do much more. Simple as that. There is no limit.
The limit does not exist.
The limit does not exist, right?
Well, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast and talking about your story, about your move. I know that a lot of people can relate to the struggles and also like triumphs that you have had through your experience. I also like to end every episode with a quote. And I was trying to like figure out what type of quote to pull in terms of like leaps of faith. And the one that I pulled is kind of in relation to how we got connected through Substack. The quote is, "Creativity is always a leap of faith. You're faced with a blank page, blank easel, or an empty stage." And that's from Julia Cameron.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because it's really all about when you jump, there is so much unknown. It's about the choices that you make afterwards that can determine how your circumstances end up. Right. So it sounds like from your move, you are now very much thriving in Toronto. So I'm so glad that you're there, and go Canada. Oh, yeah. Canada.
Thank you so much for having me on this. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much, Alex.
Awesome. Alrighty. For everyone else that's listening, we'll see you on the next episode. Okay.